Of course, I wanted attention, but not total control. Our classmates wouldn't leave us alone even after school, and even walked me home that night. I saw their heads sticking out of the bushes while I was opening my door. It became obvious that if things continued that way, I would have to put an end to it all and ask my aunt for help again. At that moment, I didn't know that it would already be too late. The next morning, Jack confessed that it was his last day at our school, the day before Kate had thrown a fit and given him an ultimatum. Either he transferred to her school, or they were done. Jack had chosen Kate. I felt uneasy. After all, I was the only one to blame for what had happened. I waited until the end of classes and finally hurried to my aunt. Maybe she had some other pill that would make the girls leave us alone. I rang the doorbell and even knocked on the windows, but my aunt hardly ever went anywhere and was supposed to be home. However, soon a neighbor came out and said menacingly, "Quit it with the noise! Mrs. Thompson has left her country house and will be back in a few days. Wait until then." That meant only one thing. Until my aunt came back, Alex and I would have to put up with our classmates who had gone crazy. On the other hand, not everything was that bad. What if that was my chance to finally date Samantha? The next day at school, I plucked up the courage and tried to talk to her. But she didn't listen to me at all and stared at Alex accordingly. He did not waste any time and invited Samantha to the trampoline park after school. I clenched my fists, feeling angry. How was that fair? I had found the pill, and my best friend was getting all the benefits. I decided to follow them. When they came to the trampoline park, I hid around the corner and watched. They were having a lot of fun. Alex taught Samantha to do a trampoline flip. She was bouncing and landing quite clumsily. It was so funny that at one point, I laughed so loudly I probably would have been caught if something terrible hadn't happened instead. After another disastrous flip, Samantha fell right on top of Alex. Just like in many silly movies girls liked, they kissed. I rushed out of the trampoline park, beside myself with rage. Why had Alex done that? After all, he knew how much I liked Samantha. Well, that's when I decided to act. I waited for Alex near his house and showed him an interesting video. I had filmed it at one of our parents' parties at Alex's house. That day, he had mixed a bunch of cocktails and went to town. He had put on his sister's swimsuit and started to parody her gait. Alex regretted it afterwards, of course, and made me promise to delete the video. I had promised, but it had slipped my mind, and now it came in handy. "I'll send this video to everyone if you don't get out of our school and away from Samantha." Alex hadn't expected that. We had a big fight, and he said, "That's it, our friendship is over." "Of course it is. You went on a date with my girl." He went home, and so did I. I tossed and turned all night and wondered if I had done the right thing. Well, what would you do in my position? However, the next morning, I realized that I had made the right decision. My threats had affected Alex, and he did not come to school. Samantha looked for him everywhere, confused. That was my chance. I came up to her and offered to teach her how to do flips, but she said she already had a good teacher. I still meant nothing, Samantha, but the other girls were crazy about me. Now that I was the only guy in the class, all their attention was focused on me. At first, it was awesome. I got notes with confessions during classes, and the other boys looked at me with envy while I was going home surrounded by girls. But it quickly got boring and started to annoy me. They started following me everywhere. One day, they even walked into the men's bathroom. That was the last straw for me. I jumped out into the hallway and shouted, "What's the matter with you? Leave me alone already!" But the girls smiled dumbly and batted their eyes. One of them even told my friends, "He's so cute when he's angry." Ah, that was it. I had got too deep and had to stop the madness before I went crazy myself. Hoping that my aunt had already returned, I went to her house. My aunt hated phones, so I couldn't even get in touch with her any other way. Luckily, she had recently come back and was unpacking. I told her what unexpected effect her crazy pill had and asked for an antidote, but she suddenly laughed. "Did you think I was a real witch? It was just vitamin C. I gave it to you to boost your confidence. Magic isn't real." Great. I had made all the girls fall in love with me using an ordinary vitamin. There was clearly something weird going on, and I absolutely had to get to the bottom of it. At home, I started to develop a plan, but the only thing that came to mind was to use the same methods as my classmates. Stalking. Of course, I chose Samantha as my target, and the very next day, I started following her. Like a real spy, I went after her everywhere, even to the girls' bathroom. That's where I overheard her talking to her friends, and which everything finally started to make sense. I locked myself in a stall while Samantha was putting on makeup with the other girls in front of a large mirror. Once she had her lipstick on, she said, "Well, that's it. Only one left. Don't you feel sorry for him?" "Not at all. He shouldn't have put anything in our water." Guys, don't repeat my mistakes, and don't try to trick girls. you're going to lose that war. To reach their goals, they can pretend and act like no one else. I had been tricked like a little kid, and I had to get even with them. That same day, I called my friends to a soccer field, told them everything, and suggested we team up to punish the girls. But Jack and Alex refused to participate. They said that they liked their new schools and weren't coming back. I was in shock. The girls had destroyed my friendship with Alex and made Jack and his girlfriend Kate break up. Alex and Jack were so whipped, they were ready to just forget about everything that had happened. But I wasn't going to give up and decided to defeat all those girls myself. I started the very next day. In the morning, I ate garlic tears to scare the girls away with the terrible smell coming from my mouth. But my sacrifices were in vain. They didn't care. They were still following me everywhere. I decided to go further. In the evening, I put on a bunch of warm clothes to get sweaty and ran on a treadmill for several hours. After that, I put my clothes in a bag. And the next morning, I put them in the girls' lockers. They stank like hell. I was sure everyone would want to stay away from me after that. But the girls won once again. They sprayed their perfumes all over school, and the unpleasant smell almost disappeared. One of them even came up to me with an unusual offer. "The girls and I have packed your stuff. Your washing machine at home broke, right? Let me take your clothes. I'll wash them and give them back." I was losing the war on all fronts. I was terribly tired of such endless games and decided to relax a little, go to the cinema, and watch some cool comedy. I bought a huge bucket of popcorn and Coke and went to look for my auditorium. Kate, Jack's girlfriend, was standing by the entrance of one of them. I decided to say hi, but some guy beat me to it. He kissed Kate on the cheek and hugged her. That cheater! I went up to Kate and told her everything I thought of her, but she put her hand over my mouth. "Shut up! Let's talk! I'll explain everything." Kate took me aside and told me that Jack wasn't really her boyfriend. He was just her neighbor who asked her to pretend to be his girlfriend in exchange for a couple of free movie tickets. Jack hadn't transferred to her school at all. He had simply been skipping class. Kate had no reason to lie to me, but I simply couldn't take her word for it. I didn't want to believe that my best friends could have conspired behind my back. I decided to talk to Jack in person, not over the phone, so I came to his house. His parents opened the door and said that Jack wasn't home. They suggested I wait for him in his room. I agreed. That was my chance to find out the truth. Let alone, I opened Jack's laptop. We had been friends since childhood and had no secrets from each other. That's why I knew his password. At least, that's what I thought. How I was wrong. It turned out I was the only one that didn't have any secrets. Jack was in a group called No Sheldon. Alex was in it too, as were all our classmates. They sent memes about me to each other and discussed how infuriating and annoying I was. I closed the laptop and, without even saying goodbye to Jack's parents, ran out into the streets. My best friends hated me, and I didn't even understand why. I decided to talk to Alex. Maybe he would explain what was going on. However, when I got to Alex's house, I saw a strange group of people in his backyard. He was sitting on the swings with Samantha in his arms, and Jack was eating ice cream from a table opposite them. The three of them were chatting about something. I hid behind a fence and heard a lot about myself. "Just a bit more, and Sheldon will leave school. He's already at his limit." "Well, hurry up. My parents will notice that I'm skipping classes soon." "Same. We need to come up with something bigger to get rid of him faster." I couldn't take it any longer. I jumped out of my hiding place and pounced on my former friends. The whole thing was really crazy. Jack and Alex had always been stronger than me, so they easily knocked me to the ground. I looked at them as viciously as I could. Samantha leaned over me and hissed, "What did you expect? All the girls in class were sick of you. So we asked the guys for help." I pushed her away and dusted myself off. I only wanted to do one thing, leave and forget my humiliation as soon as possible. But the betrayal of my friends could not go unpunished. So it was time for desperate measures. Do you remember that pill I threw into the water? It wasn't an ordinary pill. Everyone who drank that would fall in love with me in exactly 1 month. So good luck, Samantha, and keep in mind, you're not my type. Samantha and Alex sat there with their mouths wide open. I didn't know if they believed me or not, but when I turned around, they were arguing about something and gesticulating nervously. After everything that had happened, I couldn't study with them anymore. So that evening, I asked my parents to find another school for me. A week later, I was already sitting in a new class. There were 4 girls in it. I was determined to not hit on any of them. After all, as history has shown, not everybody likes attention. How many girls are there in your class? Tell us in the comments down below.